Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. Welcome to our presentation on currency in context, Philippine peso. And today, my team and I will take you through a comprehensive look into the background, significant, and current economic role of the Philippine peso. Let me begin by introducing our team members. Myself, Nina Farina Simon, and I will be covering the introduction. Atika Nur Sabrina binti Sanusi will covering an economic overview, and lastly, Nur Suhada binti Juso will cover performance analysis and issues of the Philippines peso. Before we start, here's a quick overview of our table of content. First is the introductions, second is economic overview, and lastly, performance analysis and issues of the Philippine peso. Let's begin with where the Philippines is located. It's an archipelago in Southeast Asia, situated in the Western Pacific Ocean. The country consists of more than 7,600 islands, bordered by the South China Sea to the west, the Philippine Sea to the east, and the Celebes Sea to the south. With an estimated population of around 117 millions in 2025, the Philippines ranks as the 30th most populous country in the world. This large population plays a vital role in domestic demand and overseas remittance, both of which are key factors in its economic and currency landscape. To understand the peso's evolution, we need to look briefly at the country's history. First is the pre colonial era. The islands were home to diverse indigenous kingdoms and trading communities. Secondly, from 1521 to 1898, Spanish colonization introduced Christianity and a centralized political structure. And on 1898, after the Spanish American War, the Philippines became a U.S. territory. On 1946, the country gained full independence after the World War II. And lastly, on 1986, the People Power Revolution restored democracy after years of dictatorships under Ferdinand Marcos. In recent years, several major events have affected the Philippines economy and the peso. First is the COVID-19 pandemic from 2020 to 2022, severely disrupted growth, employment, and remittance. Second, the Maharlika Investment Fund was launched in 2023 to aim to stimulate infrastructure and the investment. Third is the frequent typhoons and natural disaster continue to strain resources and public spending. Next, global inflation and supply chain issues in 2022 to 2023 increased import costs impacting the peso's value. And lastly, ongoing tension in the South China Sea contribute to geopolitical uncertainty affecting investor confidence. Between 2023 and 2025, the Philippine peso experienced steady depreciation. This was mainly due to high inflation, rising oil prices, and global investor uncertainty. However, there were stabilizing factors such as first, monetary policy from the Bangko Sentral Pilipinas helped mitigate volatility, and secondly, overseas Filipino remittance provided a reliable source of foreign exchange supporting the peso. The peso operates on a floating exchange rate, meaning its value is determined by market forces. This system reflects the broader health of the economy and the effectiveness of fiscal and monetary policies.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Atika Nur Sabrina binti Sanusi and I will continue our presentation for the economic overview of Philippines. So firstly, we start with the country background, which is Philippines itself is located in Southeast Asia, over 7,000 islands, and it's developing economy with a growing middle class, and it has its key sectors, which is services, business process outsourcing, BPO, and also remittance, and it has the strategic location, which is near to major trade routes. And for the key economy strength, it has the young, educated, and English-speaking population, and its top BPO destination is customer service, IT, and also content moderation, and it has the strong remittance from overseas Filipino workers or FWs, and the foreign assets support and domestic spending boost, and also as for their main export and also import, it has the top exports such as electric components such as semiconductors, coconut oil, bananas, pineapples, garments, processed food, and for the imports it has the crude oil and also petroleum, vehicles and machinery, and also electrical goods and raw materials. As I mentioned earlier, their location is strategic, which is near the major trade routes, so this is their trading partners. China for the largest import source, USA as for the major export market, Japan, South Korea, and Singapore for technology, energy, and also transport, and it's also the member of ASEAN, AFTA, and also RCEP. And this is their foreign investment and also government initiative, which is to create act to reduce corporate tax from 30% to 25%, and also growth in FDI, which is from the real estate, renewable energy, and also transport, and their program to build program, which is to build roads, railways, and also airports, and focus on digitalization and also infrastructure. And of course, it has their own risks and also challenges, which is political instability and also inconsistent policies, corruption and also slow bureaucracy, and also natural disasters such as typhoons, earthquake, and also South China Sea tension with China.
Performance analysis and issues of Philippine peso. Type of exchange rate system. One is the Philippines peso operate under a floating exchange rate system. Second, value of peso determined by market market force of supply and demand in the foreign exchange market. Third, the BSP may occasionally intervene to stabilize the peso during excessive volatility but does not fix the rates. Performance of the Philippine peso for last 2 years. Historical exchange rate trend PHP USD 2023 55.3%, not the recovery phase post pandemic. 2024 56.7%, notes that the higher inflation global uncertainty. 2025 57.5%, notes peso may remain weak, investor concern. The peso depreciate by approximately 4% from 2023 to 2025. Causes of peso depreciation. External factors. First is rising global oil price increase the cost of imports for the Philippines. Second is US Federal Reserve interest rate hikes cause capital outflows as investors move into higher yield asset in the US. Geopolitical tensions lead investors to prefer safer currencies like USD. Okay, causes of peso depreciation, which is internal factor. First is persistent inflation. Second is trade imbalance. Third, slower recovery in tourism. Four, reduce of OFW remittance, and last, increase government debt. Okay, next is currency volatility investor sentiment, which is high volatility. The peso experience has high volatility due to fluctuating global conditions and weak local fundamentals. Fiscal stability investors have expressed concerns about fiscal stability and the government ability to manage rising price. Moderately risky, although a rating agencies maintain a stable outlook, the peso is seen as moderate risky. Okay, next is role of central bank. Number one is the BSP raised policy interest rates multiple times to control inflation and protect the peso. Second is BSP also intervene the forex market when necessary to reduce excessive fluctuation. Foreign reserve declined slightly as the country used dollars to pay import and debts. Key events affecting PHP performance from 2023 to 2025. First, typhoons Noru and Mawa. Second, global energy crisis. Third, Fed rate hikes. Fourth, fluctuating OFW remittance. And lastly, increased government debts. Summary of peso performance. The depreciation of the peso is driven by combination of external shocks and domestic challenge. Second, structural issues like trade deficit and inflation remain persistent. And lastly, the peso value remains sensitive to global interest rate change, oil price, and local political economic stability.
In summary, the Philippine peso reflects the strengths and vulnerabilities of an emerging market economy. While it has faced pressures in recent years, the potential for long term growth remains. Sustained progress will depend on first, strengthening governments, promoting investor friendly reforms, and ensuring resilient economic management. With these efforts, the Philippines can better navigate currency fluctuation and build a stable economic future. Thank you for your attention. I hope this gave you valuable insight into how the Philippines peso fits within the broader context of the country's economic and development.